Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person, text number 12. Yaraditya Gatam Tejo Jagat Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam Yaraditya Gatam Tejo Jagat Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam Yaraditya Gatam Tejo Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam Yaraditya Gatam Tejo Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam Yaraditya Gatam Tejo Jagat Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam. I think that's the record for a number of recitations. See if the ladies can break their record. Jagat Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam Yaraditya Gatam Tejo Jagat Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam. I think the ladies' record is 3. So. Tejo Jagat Vasayate Kilam Yats Chandramasi Yats Shagno Tat Tejo Vidi Mamakam. Yat, that which Aditya Gatam, in the sunshine, Teja, splendor, Jagat, the whole world, Vasayate, illuminates, Akilam, entirely, Yat, that which, Chandramasi, in the moon, Yat, that which, Cha, also, Agno, in fire, Tat, that, Teja, splendor, Vidi, understand, Mamakam, from me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Purport. The unintelligent can understand how things are taking place, for one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. The living entities are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and he is giving herewith the hint how they can come back to Godhead, back to home. From this verse, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universities and solar systems, and there are different suns, moons, and planets also. But in each universe, there is only one sun. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10:21, the moon is one of the stars. Nakshatranam aham shasi. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of the sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare their foodstuff, and they set fire to start the factories. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without their help, no living entity can live. So, if one can understand that the light and the splendor of the sun, moon, and the fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then one's Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moonshine, all vegetables are nourished. The moonshine is so pleasing that people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Without his mercy, there cannot be sun. Without his mercy, there cannot be moon. Without his mercy, there cannot be fire. Without the help of sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. These are some of the thoughts that provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. Yadadityatam tejo jagat pasayate kilam yats chandramasi yats chagno tat tejo vidimamakam. The splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me. The splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatya De Sitarne. At the end of the 10th chapter, Krishna said, Yad Yad Vibhudimat Sattvam Srimad Urjitam Evava Tat Tad Eva Vagachetvam Mamate Tamksha Sambhavan Ataiva Bona Atena Kim Gatena Tvarjuna Vishtavyaham Idam Kritsnam Ekam Stena Sito Jagat. But what is Yadadit? Let's see, how's it? What is there? All this detail. Yadaditya. Yatshagnya. What's that? I know, but that's not the verse I'm looking for. I'm looking for the one before that. Yad, I know. Vibhudimat Satpam Shrimat Urjitam Evava Tat Tadeva Gajatvam Marto Change Sambhavan. Know that all beautiful, mighty, and original, know that all beautiful, mighty, and opulent manifestations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Ataiva Bo. But what is there need for all this detailed explanation? Because with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire creation. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Different translations. In other words, Krishna is saying everything comes from him. So when he tells us that, usually it doesn't mean very much to us because there's too many things going on. If Krishna says, I'm everything, then it doesn't mean very much to us. And if he says, I'm the lion, or I'm the time, or I am Prahlad, or something, then we think, all right, maybe these things are coming from Krishna. And here, for instance, he's saying, as he says in many places in Bhagavad Gita, that the sun, yadaditya gatam tejo jagat pase kila, that the sun comes from Krishna. He also said, aham shashi, that I am the light in the sun and the light in the sun and the moon. Rasoham apsnu kuntiya pravasi shasi suryo pranavasarabedeshu shabdike purusham drishu. I am the taste in the water, I am the light in the sun and the moon, I am the syllable O in the Vedic mantras, and the sound in ether and ability in man. So Krishna has to repeat the same thing over and over again. And then maybe one day we'll look at the sun and think, wow, that was very kind of Krishna to put the sun there. Otherwise, we take everything for granted. Yeah, sure, the sun's supposed to be there, because otherwise, how could it shine on me? Yeah, sure, the moon's supposed to be. It's all supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. There's absolutely zero gratitude. Thank you, Krishna, for putting the sun there. No, you're supposed to do that. That's your job. Because otherwise, if you didn't put it there, then how could I be warm? And the whole idea of the creation is make me happy, right? Isn't that why this creation came about? It's just to make me happy. So Krishna, why don't you put an extra sun here? Maybe I'll get twice as warm. For my birthday, at least. We'll wait till. So the point is we take everything for granted, and therefore we don't realize that things are going on by the mercy of Krishna. We think Krishna is supposed to be merciful because that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to do all these things. And as far as gratitude, well, Krishna should be happy that I'm even here. Just my presence should be enough appreciation. So the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself to be so very important, and thinks that everything is automatically due to him because that's who he is, and everything should come to him naturally, automatically. There's no feeling that God is so powerful, and at the same time he's so kind that he's arranging everything here so that I can live comfortably with the idea of developing my Krishna consciousness. And even when he's chastising people, because he says that I'm also Yamaraj in the 10th chapter, was that Anantas Chasminaganam Kala Kaliyatamaham Mriganam Chamrigendoham Vainatejas Chabhakshinam Anantas Chasminaganam Varnam Yadasamaham Pitrinam Ayama Yasmi Yama Samyatamaham. That of the Nagas I'm Ananta. And of the animals and the lion, of the ancestors I am Aryama, and of the subduers, of all the chastisers I am Yamaraj. So Krishna is also Yamaraj. He's also chastising people, but Krishna has only one aim, to wake up the conditioned soul so he can go back to the spiritual world. That's what this whole universe is about. There's nothing really else going on here. And if we think something else is going on here besides that, that's called illusion. And part of the illusion is that we don't understand why things are here. Why Krishna put these planets, why Krishna put these different energies, why Krishna is doing everything. Because we don't understand what's going on, therefore we don't understand Krishna. Therefore we have to hear it again and again, as Brahma says. It's Chaksha Esha Savita Sakala Grahana Raja Samasa Suramurte Shesha Teja Yas Yagaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindam Adi Purushang Tamahang Bhajami. Brahma is worshipping Lord Krishna, not because he has nothing else to do. After all, just sitting on a lotus flower all day long, you get kind of bored. So he had to do something. So he figured, well, there's some coward boy, might as well worship him. See what happens. No, he's worshiping him because he says that the sun is one of his eyes, and it's full of infinite effulgence. Now, if the sun moved a little closer to the earth, then everything would burn. And if it moved a little further away from the earth, everything would freeze. So the sun's exactly in an orbit. Now the question is, what's keeping the sun in the orbit? The sun feels obliged to be in its orbit? Or just by accident? Just this huge ball, they say it's millions of times bigger than the earth, just so happens to be floating exactly in an orbit. Because after all, if it didn't, then we wouldn't be here. And if we weren't here, there'd be no purpose in creation. So, of course, it's supposed to be like that. All the planets are supposed to move in their orbits. And if you ask the scientists, how does that happen? Oh, it's just an accident. Sure, you just throw a bunch of dust, and maybe if you throw up enough times, after a while, it'll just start floating in orbit. You just accident. The Big Bang Company, construction company. We hire the Big Bang construction company. They go here and they put dynamite in all different corners of this room, and they blow it up. And hopefully by accident, it'll all fall down into a better room. And if it doesn't work, they just take more dynamite and blow it up again, till finally you get a perfect building. By accident, of course. But that's how they say the universe came about, just perfectly by accident. Out of nothing, it exploded, somehow or another exploded. Someone lit a match and exploded. And it just, by accident, created this universe with planets moving their orbits and all these species of life evolving, and just amazing accident. And then if you ask the scientists, well, how did you figure out it was by an accident? Well, how else could it have become about? If you don't accept it's an accident, you must accept that there's a God. Are you a fanatic religious follower? You have to accept God. You need some crutch called God. You can't accept another explanation, like it all came out of nothing. Because you need a crutch called God. You're a religious fanatic. You have no understanding of science. Sure, don't you see all the time, out of nothing, everything's coming all the time. You just don't have the eyes to see it. Actually, everything's coming out of nothing, but in multi-dimension universes that you can't perceive. Of course, we can't perceive them either, but they must be there. Because otherwise, you have to accept the worst conclusion possible, that there might be a God. So, the point is that people are crazy, that's all. They're just completely crazy. And out of enviousness and unwilling, their intelligence has been taken away. And therefore they can't even understand the most simple things. That out of nothing, nothing comes. That's what comes out of nothing. And their whole philosophy is defeated by the fact that their bodies are changing, and therefore there is a controller behind the universe that's changing everything. And no scientist, no person, no one can stop everything from changing. Which means for all their great philosophy, control, and we're going to improve things, they can't do anything. Zero. That's what they can do. All they can do is change around what's already there and think they're making progress. But themselves, they can't do anything. In other words, they can think they're manipulating material nature, getting different results, but as soon as they get the results, it all's changing anyhow. They do a little something, and something happens, they think they're doing it. Of course, it's all by Krishna's arrangement. But as soon as they do it, it disappears. Whatever they did disappears, and something new appears. They may think they've created a car, but at every moment, their creation is disappearing, including the car. They can't keep the car from deteriorating and diminishing and eventually disappearing, nor they can get their body. All they can do is think that they're doing everything. They didn't put one atom here. They can't stop one atom from changing. If Krishna doesn't want, they can't remember who they are. And yet they're taking credit for everything. But the real fact is that there's a person who's controlling everything, put everything here, is giving us this body to play around with. And at the end, he takes it away, and we get another one. And we just play around in the material universe, thinking at every step, either we're not thinking, or when we get a human form of life, we think it's all by accident. And I'm going to be here forever. Because if there was a God, he might take my body away. There couldn't be a God. And therefore, somehow or another, we're going to arrange the universe so all of us are going to live here forever. And then if someone dies, everyone's surprised. Oh, he's really unfortunate. He died. But that won't happen to me because I'm a nicer person. And I deserve to be here longer. I'm not a bad person like he was. And people start thinking about all the bad things he did that caused him to die. But I'm going to do good things, and maybe God will make me an exception. In other words, the point is, we should appreciate that Krishna is very kind to us. He's given us these opportunities, and we should try to utilize them in his service so we can appreciate him even more. If we have a glass of water, we shouldn't think, how did it appear by accident? It just so happened. It's supposed to be there. Because otherwise, if I'm thirsty, if there was no water, then, well, how could I quench my thirst? So it's supposed to be there, because I deserve it. And how did it get there? By accident, of course. All these accidents are supposed to happen so I can be happy. Otherwise, how could I be happy? So these accidents are necessary. So instead of taking the water and appreciating Krishna is so kind, he's provided me with this water, and this water is his energy, and then drinking the water. And if we do it, then the water actually acts as a medicine. It cures the soul of his forgetfulness. And the disease of forgetfulness of Krishna is the primary disease that causes all the other diseases, including repetition of birth and death. So just by acknowledging, even in the glass of water, that this glass of water, Krishna has put it here, he's so kind, and that the taste of the water is so nice, it not only quenches my thirst, but also I can appreciate Krishna's presence in the water. Then we can actually make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, in this whole universe, we look around, we can't see Krishna anywhere, although he's everywhere. And we want to see Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. How is that possible? We want to imagine that Krishna is not here, and that it doesn't really matter what I do or how I do or what I think about here, because, it's all going to be all right. Instead of consciously thinking, Krishna put everything here, and I should utilize everything here very nicely for his service. Like one time a devotee was kicking, I think, a pillow in the temple, and Prabhupada saw it. And he said, that pillow is more sacred than your foot. Or as Swami Krishna one time, he held up a Bhagavad Gita, and it was all tattered to pieces. And he said, this is, first of all, he held up his Gita, and it was perfect condition. Then he held up another Gita that was all from the temple, it was all in tatters. And he said, this is Krishna's Gita. My Gita, I keep, what I think is my Gita, I keep very nicely. But Krishna's Gita, oh, it's not. Tear it to pieces. Who cares? So we have to see everything in relation to Krishna. Then we can act with care and attention, and then we can develop the mood of a devotee. Otherwise, we may think we're doing everything very nicely, but if we're not doing it in devotion, we're not doing it in the mood of devotion, then we're not making any advancement in spiritual life. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
You mentioned this so-called accidents, or how to say this, surprises. I saw like many times people, or even I, see such things as spiritual arrangements and some higher force. So
Force.
Yeah, like
the force. May the force be with you. Is the force with you?
now it is. So once in Sankirtan, I met one person and I offered the book, and she replied, no, I won't take a book right now because I like things to come to me by itself. So, you
just throw the book and it floats.
Something like this.
Yeah.
So, can you explain?
Well, you should have told her, actually, this book just appeared out of nowhere. And I also appeared out of nowhere. And therefore the conclusion is this book is coming to you out of nowhere. Therefore you must take it. It came to you by itself.
Will that convince her? Or
if you do it selflessly.
Is this just the lacking of knowledge that we don't see like the Krishna's hand behind it, or?
Yeah, there's different kinds of people. Some people lack knowledge, some people are just crazy.
Okay.
The difference is when someone has pointed out the reality of the situation, they accept it. And when people don't accept it, it's just because they're crazy. Or they're envious.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the lecture. I have more than one question, but I don't know which one to ask.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Huh? Okay. I've seen somewhere in I think Brahma is saying in Bhagavatam that when he creates according to Krishna's indications, blueprints, then it takes some effort for him to create. And he also, I think, says something like that Krishna explained to him that it's not so easy for him either to create. So,
I don't know. I mean, have you ever asked Brahma how difficult it was? Yeah, it was Brahma. I need a rest. I'm taking a vacation for a couple of 100 million years.
No, I mean, but for me personally, this would be one more argument for being grateful if actually Krishna suffered some pain creating everything.
You see Krishna create pain.
I mean, I know what the theory is that
no, there's no problem for Krishna.
So he can, energies do it by themselves.
He doesn't have to give it to you anyhow. all these envious living entities in the material world, he's giving them so much facility. So what's the difference if it's easy or hard for him? Why should he give it to them in the first place? It's due to his kindness. So we can't appreciate his kindness. He has to suffer in order for us to appreciate him. What about the fact that he's just kind to us? If a millionaire comes and gives you $1 million, multi-billionaire comes and gives you €1 million, and you say, well, I don't know, I don't know if I should show you any appreciation. How hard did you work for this, by the way? No, that's not the point. We think we deserve everything. Therefore, Krishna has to give it to us because we deserve it. That's out of kindness he's giving it to us. So we should appreciate him, at least for his kindness, not for his effort, how hard he worked to give it to us. If your little child gives you a candy out of love, you go, hey kid, how hard did you work for this candy? No, you appreciate it because it's offered out of love. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.